Good evening, my dear brethren. We are glad you are here again today for another session of LPJ, Live Series with Pastor Joe. It has always been an exciting time when we come together like this to have this conversation where we bring in different individuals who have had impact in the marketplace and within the Christian community so that they can have a conversation and give us guidance and tell us from their wealth of experience and their expertise about how we can develop as Christians and be effective both in our Christian community and in the marketplace and be successful in life. For a while now, we've been announcing to you that we are opening it up again this year, and we are starting with our own dear friend. He's a personal friend of mine, and he has been a Christian leader for many years, and also somebody who has grown up in the marketplace very effectively. He happens to be a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, but I also talk a little bit about his credentials, what he brings to the table. He is the chief executive of Standard Bank West Africa, and prior to this, he has also been the chief executive of Stanbic IBTC Holding PLC, and at various times he has served as the chief executive and deputy chief executive and executive director and head of corporate and investment banking for Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC. It's one of Nigeria's leading bank as the Stanbic IBTC, and now he is the chief executive of the Standard Bank West Africa. So you see, by the grace of God, God has elevated him and elevated his profile. He comes with a wealth of experience spanning 3 decades in financing, capital raising, mergers and acquisition, and privatization advisory. He is an alumnus. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about him when he comes in for that business conversation session. He is an alumnus of University of Nigeria, University of Ife, Harvard Harvard Business School, MIT, and all of that. He comes in with a wealth of experience. I'm going to call him Mr. Yinka Sanni during this session, even though he's a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. My dear friend, we welcome Mr. Yinka Sanni to this session. Welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Joe. Thank you for having me. It's really a privilege and honor to be sharing this platform with you. Thank you.
Well, I think it's more a privilege for us, despite your very busy schedule, despite your very elevated profile in the marketplace, and by the grace of God in the kingdom of God, that you will make time to attend to us and make time to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so very much. We believe that this is just the first, and we're going to be having many such sessions, because I have watched your live, since I got to know you over 20 years ago. I have watched your live and I have seen you in different phases and in different stages in life. But I'm going to start with a very elementary question. How did you end up in the banking industry? Tell us.
Thank you, Pastor Joe. Perhaps I should put 2 caveats before I go on. One is that I'm not going to be offering financial advice because I'm not qualified to do so in North America. I don't have the license. and 2 is to tell the brethren that I'm not going to be hawking or trying to sell them products manufactured by the company I work for, Standard Bank. So
that's good.
I do this as a privilege to share fellowship with the brethren. Mm-hmm. But to your question, I think the English say it's happenstance, and in my case, we can call it God stance.
Okay.
Or God incident.
Yes.
It's a long story, but let me summarize. So I went to university in Nsukka, studied agricultural economics for 5 years, and then came back and to do national service. Those days, wherever they sent you, you went. Mm-hmm. So NYC in their wisdom sent me back to the state where I went to university, Anambra State.
Okay.
I was a teacher, one of the most fulfilling years of my life. Okay. And then I came back and then went to do an MBA at Ife. And I think I saw your coattail.
Yeah, that was where I saw you.
When you were leading the IVCU. So I was watching you from a distance as Elisha was watching Elijah. Hoping you would drop the mantle and I will pick it.
Okay.
So after the MBA degree, I then came to Lagos, and there was a new church starting, which I joined, Freedom On.
Okay.
Parking cars for Pastor Tony and Usher and all that kind of stuff. And whilst I was at it, there were two sisters in the church, Fumito Babalola,
Yes.
who asked me what I did, and I told her I was just waiting on God for a job.
Yes.
So she, Fumito Augusto now,
Yes.
so she asked for my CV and gave it to one of her friends.
Yes.
Oluwande Banwode, now Oluwande Moyo.
Yes.
Oluwande worked for IBT.
That you got to marry.
That one for another day, Pastor. So Oluwande took my CV to IBTC.
Yes.
A bank founded by very young people. I think their founder at that time was around 33 years of age.
Wow, at
Tido Peterside.
Yes.
And they were recruiting graduate trainees. So that's how they hired me.
Okay.
And the rest, as they say, is now history.
Okay.
So it was not one of those things that I can tell you that I planned it.
Okay.
Or that I saw a vision after praying for 30 days. I think God just ordained it that way. That's how I joined the bank.
Okay, that's very good. Now, I love your story. There's a simplicity to your story. Now, I want to ask you this. Did you get specific guidance along the way? For instance, that somebody had to tell you that, oh, banking industry is good for you, or did they nudge you one way or the other? Pastor Tony, did he pray over you, breathe over you, And
No, nothing of sort.
Okay.
I mean, anything could have gone at that time. Any job that I had, I was just ready to do whatever I found to the best of my ability.
Okay.
And if I didn't do banking, some have asked me before, what would I be doing? Perhaps I'll be a teacher or something.
Wow.
Because I could have ended up as a lecturer in Ife.
Okay.
I thought of doing a PhD.
Wow.
But one thing after the other, that didn't quite work out. So I was ready to do finance. I was ready to do marketing. I mean, my MBA, those were the two areas that I specialized.
Okay.
And so either would have been fine for me.
Okay. Well, but it looks like you ended up getting a PhD in a lot of things, merger and acquisition, managing finances for people, raising huge capital. So by the grace of God, God has helped you climb the ladder very well. Now, yes, nobody gave you some kind of guidance, but along the way, since you got into IBTC and all of that, have you had an experience with mentoring? What would you say about mentoring?
Oh, at IBTC, I got a lot of guidance.
Okay.
A lot.
Okay.
I mean, it was a small organization.
Yes.
It was what you could call close marking.
Yes.
My first line manager, Shola Adegoroye, and now Shola Devibora.
Yes.
We sat in the same office.
Okay.
And if I turned around, my chair would touch ours.
So touch our chairs.
so it was close marking.
Okay.
Where I watched, her and the leaders.
Yes.
It was a case of do as I do.
Yes.
So that was very helpful. Secondly, because it was an informal organization, it was the type that we even referred to each other. We called each other by the first name.
Okay.
It was not very common at that time. That gave me access to the top echelon,
okay.
to the leadership, and that helped confidence.
Okay.
Helped you in engaging with clients. So I got lots of guidance as I developed as a banker at the time.
It's very interesting what you have just said about the culture at the time within the organization, because I came into Freedom Hall. Obviously, the organization had just started, and it was beginning to make waves in Lagos. We saw their posters of advertisement in different parts of the city. But what you are telling me now is new. The fact that even within the Lagos community, within the, being the heart of the Yoruba land, and having some Yoruba staff who, for them, this cultural, identity is very important, that there was an informality about you guys, the way you guys operated in the office.
Yes, as I mentioned, the founder of the company was 33.
Mm-hmm.
He, together with a few friends, got a license to start a bank. And he was going to build a bank that would be very successful by following the rules and the laws of the land without any apologies.
Yes.
He therefore, whilst I was in Ife, I was monitoring the progress. I was seeing what was happening in the space. Mm-hmm. And it was a desire that someday maybe one would be able to interact with such people. So, but as God will arrange it did happen. So the reality was that there were no ears around the people. You came into the bank as a banking officer. You had a meeting with them once a week to discuss the next week, the business of the bank in the last week, and what the plan was for next week. So it was, no matter where you came from, even if you came from Ibadan, no matter how cultural, which I came from, by the way, no matter how cultural you thought you were, after some time, if you were following the leaders, you would be able to, and they gave you assurance that, look, this is the culture here. We want to call you by the first name. If you felt intimidated and you thought somebody was too old, you could call them a nickname. So the bank also encouraged that. Okay. So if you didn't think, you want to call Pastor Joe, then you called him Pastor Joe, or you gave him a nickname. It was fine. It was fine. So that it would be informed. And it was open door also.
Yes.
So most of all the department, apart from maybe the MD and maybe another executive director.
Yes.
Most people sat in open plan offices. Okay. And even the MD's office, the door was always open. So you could spend time to have a conversation. So that helped a great deal to build the culture in the company.
Yeah, this is very interesting, because I hope our brethren are listening and we are learning something, because I'm learning something from what you're just saying, that anytime you want to establish something new and you are thinking in terms of how far you want to go, you must be willing to make an adjustment to imbibe the culture that you think will get you in that direction and give you that distance.
Absolutely. And the idea was to attract very young people.
Wow.
So graduate trainee at that time came with a 2-1 or first class and a second degree. Yes. And they typically were younger than 25 or 26.
Yes.
So that was the culture of the institution. It was to take a clean slate and try to write on the clean slate and model the person over time.
And you guys have made some tremendous strides, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent of Africa. Okay, that's good. I'm talking about that culture. We may go back to that again at some point in time, but let me ask some other question that has to do with the topic here today. These are very uncertain times, and a lot of people have lost jobs. Some have lost profit. Because what we're going to be talking is, biblical principles and marketplace principles, even without giving specific prescription. Does the Bible prescribe wisdom for financial management in times like this?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. The Bible does. And I think I was fortunate that I was already a Christian by the time I came to the bank.
Okay.
And there were two scriptures that aided me, helped me to focus on my career. One was the one that says, godliness with contentment is great gain. I think that would be 1 Timothy 6 or something. Yes. And the second one was to help me work hard was the one that says, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Romans 12:11.
Okay.
So those drove me, consistently and I went back to them regularly. So, I mean, when you ask whether the Bible prescribes what to do to be wealthy or to be successful, I would say yes. I mean, the scripture says that whatever your hand finds to do, you should do it to the best of your ability, do it excellently.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Seest thou a man that stands, that is diligent in his way? He will stand before kings and not mere men." So there are many scriptures that one can find. 3 John verse 2 says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that you would be in good health and prosper, even as your soul prospers."
Right.
So any Christian that lives by biblical principles, would find such scriptures very useful. But there's a place, and also in the scriptures, for hard work.
Yes.
There's a place for diligence.
Yeah.
Both have to come together for the Christian to be as successful as they desire.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting, because you talked about hard work, which was something I was going to ask you about, because some people believe that hard work alone will make them successful. Some people say, if you work as hard, 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, that will make you successful. But I do guess that beyond hard work, there are specific principles that makes your hard work productive.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's that the person, when they watch the house without the Lord, they do it in vain. Mm-hmm. If remember, we're Christians, we're talking to Christians.
Yes.
Hard work alone doesn't cut it.
Okay.
It is God that blesses the hard work.
Okay.
But also, God does not bless nothing.
That's correct.
So you have to do both. You have to serve the Lord, you have to trust God, and then you have to work hard.
Okay.
But hard work alone, you can work very hard and it doesn't amount to a lot. And you can work very little, and with God's blessings, it can amount to a lot. The other day I was reflecting on Genesis chapter 26, the story of, is it okay to share the scripture?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the Christian community. Are you a pastor for saying that out loud?
in Genesis 26, they spoke about Isaac sowing in the land and reaping 100-fold.
Okay.
And they said it was because the Lord blessed him. Okay. Because the Lord blessed him, and because of the legacy of his father Abraham.
Yeah.
So the reality for the Christian is that, I mean, you can work so hard, and if the Lord doesn't bless it, it will amount to struggle, to toil. Okay. It's toiling. Whereas you can work just enough, and God can bless it. Because I don't know the kind of investment that somebody does, and it increases 100-fold. Mm-hmm. That has to be God.
Yeah, that's right.
Therefore, for the Christian, it's not just hard work. It is the blessings of the Lord that make rich and had no sorrow.
That's right. Wow, that's very important, and that's good. Now that you're talking about being a Christian and working hard and depending on the Lord. Now there are some people who say, you know what, just pray. Prayer does magic. That's that song that says, Jesus started with prayer and ended with prayer. So they expect that when they pray, money will rain down from heaven. What do you say to that?
Well, the reality is that there is nothing that God cannot do.
Correct.
Yeah, because after all, he made manna come down.
Okay.
In the desert for
yes.
the children of Israel. God can do all that. Also, I've been asked once before whether you can pray for blessing,
yes,
or whether you can pray to be wealthy. I think you can, because we're told that Jabez prayed.
Okay, and God transformed his life.
And God transformed it, so it's possible. But I heard that God blesses the work of our hands. Mm-hmm. So though there's nothing that God cannot do, God can rain down manna from heaven. He can bless somebody. He can choose how he blesses somebody. But it tends to, from what I've observed mostly in my own limited experience, it tends to bless the work of people's hands.
Okay.
It tends to give them ideas. It tends to give them wisdom.
That's
it
right.
It tends to bring them to opportunities.
That's true.
It tends to give them favor. So there are means that God blesses people. These are some of the means, including the work of their hands, including bringing them in favor with other people, including giving them wisdom for witty inventions, including giving them ideas. Those are the commonest that I have seen. But I also do believe that I read it in the Bible and I've heard testimonies of people that lock themselves up in the room and God bless them. So I can never dispute that it's not possible. What I've seen mostly is that people work, they trust God, God blesses them.
That's
right. That God gives them ideas, God gives them innovations, and they turn those innovations into business. Is that they add value to other people. If they add value to other people, what people pay for is value. People are exchanging money for value that they are receiving from other people. Those are ways that God blesses people.
That's right. So you're saying very critical things. Yes, you're working hard, but you're dependent on God, even as casual as some people may consider prayer. But prayer is important because prayer can give you vision, prayer can give you inspiration, prayer can give you guidance as to what work to do, and how to invest, and even inspiration to come up with witty inventions, which is what happened to Jacob, for instance.
Including what time you go out to work.
That's right.
What time to sow, so that when you sow, you get bountiful harvest.
That's right.
God does all that.
Wow.
I have experienced that personally as well.
Good. So it's interesting because what you are telling me here, I know you're a pastor, but what you are telling me here now is that even as a marketplace successful entrepreneur and professional, prayer has been very critical in your development and in your daily expression.
Of course. I mean, as you interact in the marketplace, you come against situations, difficult situations that you're unable to, by yourself, resolve. You pray, and God gives you breakthrough. Yeah. You come against difficult regulators, difficult clients that the rest of the team are looking up to you. And they come and ask you in the morning, how are you able to keep your calm? If I didn't keep my calm, then you'll be rolling on the floor. You keep your calm because you prayed and you trusted God that He would resolve the challenge. Okay. So yes, absolutely. Prayer makes the difference.
Okay. This is interesting. I mean, we're going to have, there's no way this will be a one-time conversation. We're going to get you a lot more time. But let me deal with some of the things that are happening in this season, for instance. In this very difficult season that has affected global market because of the COVID pandemic, how can a Christian leverage the global downturn positively?
It's a difficult time, obviously, for many businesses, especially those that have to do with people coming in physically. So let's say you run a restaurant.
Yes.
Either people come in or you do delivery. And depending on where you reside, it will be so difficult that even deliveries are difficult to do. Or let's say you're in hospitality, run a hotel, people aren't visiting. But regardless of those challenges, I mean, there's still opportunities that are there to be taken. And some of those opportunities would include in areas like telecommunications or technology. I mean, this meeting that we're having, the company that provided the platform, I'm sure they are smiling past the bank.
Are you kidding me?
Because globally, if you ignored them before the pandemic, now
you don't have a choice.
It's hard to ignore them.
Yes.
Or the company that provides the data. So where I live in Lagos, I've had to change the service provider, because if this thing started 11 months ago, 10 of the 11 months I've done my work from this same desk.
Okay.
Therefore, I needed reliable data.
Okay.
Therefore, the company that's providing the data again is fine. They did very well. If you're in say food production, yes, and you are innovative, where you can make the food and you can have it delivered, then you're okay. At the height of the pandemic, there's a supermarket in the neighborhood. One morning, I heard my wife speaking to the owner, making some orders, and she then asked whether they would deliver it. She said, "Oh yes, they will do delivery." Okay. And she asked them how much. They said, "Oh, but delivery is free." Oh, of course, she's been shopping with them for most of the time. You just make a phone call, they deliver. So the point is that, I mean, when many cry a casting down, some will cry a lifting. So the trick is to look at those sectors that have become relevant, even in these trying times, and invest in those areas if you're trying to invest. If you're a business owner, then you have to be innovative. Where people came to you before, you have to think out of the box and decide that you would go to them. If you don't, it would be very, very difficult. So it's about thinking differently, thinking innovatively till these times pass. Of course, when these times are past, some things will remain. They will become permanent. They will be permanent. I'm sure, Pastor, that some people in your church prefer the online service, even after they've been given the vaccine. Yeah, I suspect so. So those are some of the new developments that we have to just embrace.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, because for you, somebody like you who is in the marketplace, if you don't mind me, I know you've already touched on some of those areas. And what are the, you've said it, but if you don't mind, just say it again so that we can, and add some more flesh to it. How do you identify areas of relevance in these times, in these very harsh times, that will enhance your wealth acquisition as somebody in the marketplace? What are the opportunities that are out there?
Yeah, so they will be speaking generally. I'll get to specifics. Okay. But there will be areas that offer convenience to people.
Okay, areas that offer convenience to people.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I mentioned, where people came to you before. Okay. You may have to go to them. Okay. Because either there's a lockdown, they can't go out there. There's restriction on movement. Okay. So there has to be convenience being offered. Number one. Number two, there should be areas that help people to resolve issues around them. Okay. So again, if a parent, because the children can't go to school, many parents, we now appreciate what teachers do.
Teachers do.
Before, we wondered why we paid so much.
Now we know.
Now we know, because if you have to sit down with the kid, let the kid sit in front of the computer, you will find out that it's not as easy. The attention span is so short. So if you, like me, I have a colleague that, like me, is working from home. Yeah. She has an 8 or 9 year old. Yes. Because she has to continue working, she needed to go hire a teacher or somebody that would now sit with the child and be sure that the child is paying attention, is doing homework, Otherwise, that may miss a year.
Yeah.
So the second point I'm making is that apart from the first one that offers convenience, also a second area is if you help people resolve issues that they have. So like that woman, my colleague, she has an issue to resolve.
Yeah.
To ensure that her son doesn't miss a year in school.
Yeah.
Because school is going on. So that's a second area. And you know that many schools on this side of the world, we were not prepared
at all
for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So many schools actually could not deliver lessons or lectures remotely. They were closed initially.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you were a teacher in such schools, or if you are the owner, if you didn't have access to credit, it could be the end of your investment of your school. So the point I'm making is that apart from convenience, helping somebody resolve an issue, a third area I alluded to it earlier is innovation. Is innovation around what you are doing.
Yeah.
Because if you thought that this thing will last 6 months, it's almost a year since it started.
Yep.
And it could be another 6 months. So the person has to be able to think innovatively to reposition their business. So those are three general areas. So let me get to the specifics. If you think about the first one about convenience, again, I gave the example of the supermarket. So convenience means you then decide that you would go to the people. You will make it easy for them. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to go out. And it's unbelievable the kind of things that happen in Lagos now. This evening, our older daughter already ordered something. It was delivered.
Okay.
To this very place, to this house without going anywhere.
Wow.
So that's about convenience. The second one, which is about helping somebody resolve. A young person can decide that they will start a business where they will do home lessons.
Okay.
If you are a graduate, you're qualified, you can teach one or two things. You can start a business around that and actually help people in their homes or their children.
Yes.
And the third example of helping people resolve, look at pharmaceuticals. I know a pastor like us is industrious and owns manufacturing enterprises. A few months ago, I saw him opening an enterprise to do nose masks or face masks. He must be selling them in the thousands.
Right one.
So again, the pharmaceutical area, you and I had a joke before. Some medicine that people just take just to be sure that you're okay. So it's booming in some of those areas. So one has to just, in a nutshell, one has to think innovatively and creatively for to get through this stage and for areas to invest in.
Okay.
But if we're talking about investment generally, I mean, there are areas that come rain or sunshine, they should be there. So as difficult as things are, people have to eat anyway.
That's right.
People have to eat. So it looks like more often than not, if you are focusing on that area, even beyond the pandemic, depending on what you offer, then it could be in line. And of course, generally speaking, on the side of the world where I live, services have been okay. So financial services are essential.
Okay.
So even when we are asleep, your money is in the bank.
Okay.
And the bank is probably giving those that need the money.
Yeah.
And will collect an interest. We also spoke earlier about telecommunications.
Yes.
When we can't go out, we're making phone calls, we're using data, and so on and so forth. So there are opportunities. And for the Christian, that's why your earlier question about whether prayer helps, that's the link to prayers, because it doesn't mean that if Mr. A does it and they were successful,
it doesn't
you,
mean
Mr. B, it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad. Let me go ahead and ask some more questions about this investing and investment in emerging markets, because, like I know you are operating from the whole African region, and Africa is considered one of the emerging markets. Now, there's this general fear about investing in emerging markets in African nations, in a place like Nigeria, in West Africa. So let's hear what's your experience about that.
Yeah, I think some of those fears are not unfounded,
Okay.
and the reasons are not far-fetched.
Okay.
So sometimes it could be because inflation is high.
Okay.
Sometimes people reference political instability.
Okay.
Sometimes people reference currency instability.
Okay.
Or illiquidity of the currency.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you've done business and you want out, you want to take your money, your profit out. Sometimes it could be challenging. But despite all that, it is also true that some of the fastest growing economies are in Africa, and indeed West Africa. And some of them are stable. I mean, so look at Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay.
The currency is stable, inflation is low, it's growing at 6-7%. Same with Senegal and a few countries like that. So I think the reality is that risk is associated with reward. So it's true that it could be riskier investing, in Africa, West Africa, or emerging markets generally, as you refer to them. Mm-hmm. But the reality is also that the reward compensates for that risk. Therefore, anyone that's wanting to invest, you remember with the conversation we had before about sectors and areas.
That's right.
I think they need to make up their mind that they would like to invest they would like to do a long-term investment.
Okay.
So if you look at it over a 3-5 year period, it still makes sense to do so. And like I mentioned, some of the fastest growing economies are here. When Nigeria recovers, it might be growing at 4, 5, 6%.
When
Nigeria has the demographics of young people.
Okay.
A population of 200 million, a market where you can sell goods, products, and services.
You say when Nigeria recovers, you are right there in the hub of what range of time are you looking at Nigeria recovering?
Okay, I mean they published the growth numbers I think last week on Thursday or Friday. Surprisingly, we actually came out of recession.
I saw that news and I didn't believe it.
Well, Pastor, the way I respond to that when people say they don't believe something, I say you have to believe something. You have to believe numbers, especially if those numbers are there's consistency in how they come out. Yes. Otherwise, you are going to need Samuel or something to guide you. So I think the numbers are the numbers. We have to believe them. I believe them because the same statistician general told us when we were in recession, we didn't quarrel.
We didn't fight over that one.
We didn't fight. So why are we fighting now? So I believe the numbers, and I think that from there, I mean, if we continue on this trajectory where services are growing, especially telecommunication.
Yes.
And the government is able to put its arm around some of the disturbances around the country so that agriculture goes on and business goes on. Then we might see recovery. And indeed, the projection is that I think next year, Nigeria is expected to grow between 1.5% and 2%.
Wow.
For 2021. It's still very low.
I know.
given the rate of growth of
That's
population
very hopeful.
in Nigeria. Yes, but it's good news that there is some growth, and hopefully we can then build upon that.
Okay. Now that's encouraging, because it means that the housing market in Nigeria again will come alive, and Nigerians are very optimistic people, and that will help the movement in that area.
Yes, we are. We're optimistic and hopeful.
Okay, that's good. Now, when we talk about investments, okay, and investing, there are pillars of wealth. I don't know what you consider the pillars of wealth, but I'm a layman. All I do is, I preach the Bible and I teach what I teach. I know that there are some people who look at real estate, that some people look at stocks, some people look at trading, buying and selling. And of course, for some people, it's just all about planting seed, seed money, seed faith and all that. So how would you advise a Christian, to engage in, or how can a Christian leverage these areas of business opportunities to grow their wealth?
Yes, I mean, some of those pillars that you mentioned, I mean, they do exist. Real estate, typically, I mean, it should be, or from experience, real estate would, over the long term, tend to outperform inflation over time. You spoke about stocks. Again, if you're investing in companies that have what you call fundamentals, you understand the business that they do. You can see people buying and selling their products. In a country where the population is growing, if employment improves, more people are employed, they're paid, you expect that they will buy those goods. So that's what, in a layman's term, that's fundamentals. You can see what the company is producing. You spoke about trading. Trading is opportunistic. You think a company is overvalued. The price is too high, so you want to sell to take some profit in the hope that the price will fall again. That's what I mean by it is opportunistic. It's not really an investment strategy. But the few things to focus on are, one should try to diversify. I think the way it's said in layman terms is, don't put all your eggs
in one basket. Yeah.
So you hold a little of real estate, a little of stocks, a little of cash, because in an environment like this, opportunities can just show up, because something that would really appreciate in value over time, say real estate, that opportunity may show up. If you have no cash, then you can't take. So it's good to have a bit of cash waiting for those opportunities. Of course, when you have a bit of cash, you invest the cash in money market instrument that can give you minimal return while you're waiting for the opportunity. So it's important that you diversify, you buy a bit of different things. Secondly, I tell people it's good to buy what you understand. No, what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that you should do technical analysis, but if when they explain to you what the company does, you don't understand it, there's already a problem. You can't tell how the company makes money. You can't tell. It's just here and there, fuzzy in the air. Then, or anything that you buy that you can't sleep, then there's no point. So I always counsel that people should try to buy what they understand. Yeah. And third advice that I may give, even though I said I wasn't giving advice at the start, is that people should you should see investment. You should give yourself the benefit of time.
Okay.
The benefit of time is that investment is what you do over a period.
Long term.
It's a bit like you plant a seed. Like we taught our children, if you planted a maize seed, and after a day you went there to look at it to see whether it's growing.
Yeah.
You dig the soil around it. It's not going to grow if you do that every other day.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you put the seed there, you give it some time, you water it, you protect it, and then hopefully after 6 weeks you see it with some leaves.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by giving it time. Giving it time also means that you're investing regularly.
Okay.
What many of us do is that we do it sporadically. You do it today, and maybe you wait another 3 years. If you do it consistently,
yes,
what that means is that sometimes, let's say you are investing in the stock market, sometimes you catch the price very high. Sometimes it will be low.
No, that's
so
right.
That by the time you find the average, it still makes sense.
Yep.
And then if you give it the benefit of time, it is expected that the company, the underlying, will have grown with the country as the country is growing, and therefore your investment should have grown. So these are some of the guidelines that people should consider to make an investment and grow their wealth.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Because I remember at one time you were managing the money market for your company, isn't it?
Yes, I was privileged to manage the asset management.
You've been in that business for a long time. Please give me that privilege to manage the money market too. Thank you so much. I mean, you are teaching us, and I'm learning a lot. And I hope, my dear friends, that you are also learning a lot. We're going to put this, as you know, we'll put this on our website and put it, I think, on our YouTube channel, so that you can go there and watch it over and over again. Now that you're talking about, because you said something very important about giving money time, giving an investment time to develop. Because some of us believe that, hey, you make this investment today, you've got to have your returns tomorrow, or 30%, 100% tomorrow. And because of that, we don't plan well for the future. We don't prepare for retirement because we are always thinking short term. What would you say about, preparing for retirement?
Yes, preparing for retirement. If you have time, because time plays a role in these things.
Yes.
Or what you call the power of compounding.
Compounding, yeah.
Is more effective with time, over time. So if you make an investment, for instance, that, let's say, for illustrative purposes, delivers 20% return, over a 4-year period, roughly, your money should double.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that time, then you don't have the benefit of those returns. So if somebody is thinking of planning for retirement and they have time, therefore, the rough rule of thumb is they should imagine the quality of life they want to live at retirement.
Okay.
And they should then decide, what do they need to live that quality of life? What will it cost? They can then work backwards.
Okay.
To say, if I need X amount on a monthly basis to pay all my bills and be reasonably comfortable at retirement, and I'm still working and I have X number of years, you can then decide, how much do I need to save now? Or you can decide, for how long do I need to save the money to be able to get that kind of quality or the outcome that I'm thinking about. Then they have the answer.
Okay.
Therefore, they can decide how much they eat now and how much they set aside for the future.
Okay. But it's very interesting, because I remember some joke, you poked at me when I was saying that we should do this recording, and I was very concerned about electricity and your ability to run an effective Zoom program from Nigeria. And you made fun of me. I said, what do you think we've been doing all this time? You don't think that we've been functioning properly? So I just remember that, because it tells you about what's been going on and how even a country like Nigeria, how is developing and emerging and progressing. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this planning for retirement. Are there some resources, for instance, that you can reference and refer us to and say, hey, get this material or get this? This will be helpful to you.
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Many money managers or fund managers have this, what I just described, it's called a retirement calculator, where you can go to their website and actually put this decide that today I am 50, I'm going to retire at 65, and how much do I need to put aside to get the pot that I need, assuming that I retire at 65, I now live another 30 years. Those calculators are available on website of money managers. Besides that, the fund managers also have different funds. So if I just came to work, it's my first job, and I'm 23. My risk profile is different from the 55-year-old who's retiring in 10 years. So they have such delineations where the younger person is supposed